sisters and brothers. Oh my goodness. You get me so excited. You know, one thing that Brother Ish talked about is the fact that there were Africans here before the Europeans came here to colonize. And the thing is, the thing that's really significant about that is that when Africans came here, they did come cooperatively. They came here to Lenape-Hoking, the land of the Lenape, which is where we are, and they worked collectively. They did not come to dominate. That is not a requirement just because you come into a strange land that you have to dominate. You can come into a strange land as a stranger and become a friend, and become a neighbor, and become family, and become community. And that is what was done here. And let us remember that as well, and that there is solidarity between the people of this land who are colonized and have had their land stolen here, and the people who were stolen from Africa and have been colonized on this stolen land. Let's get to the demands, y'all. The demands are going to be presented to you by 3 other members of my awesome radical family. The people who will introduce the demands are my beloved sister, Crystal Strong, who is strong. Such an adequate name. My dear brother, Ann Smith. And my other beloved brother, Mike Africa Jr. We're going to start with my sister, Crystal. No justice.
No peace.
No justice.
No peace.
No justice.
No peace.
Our position is that as long as there is no justice, there will be no peace. The Black Philly Radical Collective shouts, "We want freedom. End the war against Black Philadelphians now." During this time of rebellion against police terrorism and state violence, we, the radical Black organizing community in Philadelphia, make the following immediately actionable demands upon the city of Philadelphia: to abolish, by which we mean to permanently and holistically eliminate the structures of policing and related state violence that are endangering our communities. These demands were written with the understanding that our more vulnerable family members, our Black, trans, disabled, and gendered oppressed community members are especially targeted by the systems of oppression expressed in our demands. We center the most vulnerable within our community in this document and in our work. We will be in the streets demanding justice for the Black community until our demands are met. Demand 1, we demand an authentic defunding of the police budget. Since the uprisings began, the Philadelphia organizing community has made unequivocal demands for the city of Philadelphia to vote no on a proposed increase to the police budget. In recent days, the city has responded to this public pressure and announced a reduction to the police budget, supposedly by $33 million. This supposed decrease in funding is simply a ploy by city officials to mislead the public, and we want to be clear about that. City Council has simply moved the budget for crossing guards to another department of the city government. This type of subterfuge is unacceptable. We demand an immediate and authentic reduction in the police budget by 20%, and that's just the start. We want public funds to enrich our communities, not the police. We demand the originally proposed $14 million police budget increase be augmented by $11 million, and that this go to the Philadelphia School District budget for the removal of environmental hazards from schools, namely asbestos and lead paint, which they say is estimated to cost $25 million per year. Demand 2, immediately cease the criminalization of Black resistance. will not permit the Black community's legitimate struggle against white supremacy to be criminalized. Since the rebellion began, police have trapped and tear gassed protesters on I-676. They've unleashed rubber bullets and war munitions on 52nd Street in the heart of West Philadelphia. And they have brutalized protesters while arresting them as recently as this past Monday. The apologies of Mayor Kenny and Police Commissioner Outlaw about this treatment are not acceptable, and they are not accepted. We demand an end to the use of tear gas, grenades, assault rifles, and surveillance in our neighborhoods and at protests. We further demand that the District Attorney, Larry Krasner, drop all arrests and charges against community members and activists in relation to our rebellion, and that no future detainment, arrests, or charges be made. We also demand an independent and transparent investigation into the use of force against protesters, as well as the extreme disparities in the use of force confronting protests against police violence, as opposed to white vigilantes in South Philadelphia and Fishtown. Demand 3, immediately and permanently remove all symbols of state violence. After decades of work by Philadelphia's Black organizing community and community members, Mayor Kenny has finally conceded to the demand to remove the statue of Frank Rizzo. Mayor Kenny has also agreed to remove the Christopher Columbus statue. That is not enough. It's not enough. We demand the immediate public destruction of these white supremacist symbols of hate, oppression, and violence so that they can never be erected elsewhere. Furthermore, the street sign honoring Wilson Good is an equally flagrant symbol of state violence against Black Philadelphia, as the former mayor presided over the bombing of our city and the murder of 11 members of the Move family, including 5 children, in 1985 on May 13th. We demand that the street be reverted to its original name. We demand legislation that removes all other existing monuments of state violence and ensures that no future symbols of state violence against Black, Indigenous, or brown people be permitted in our city. Let us be crystal clear. These first 3 demands require immediate action from the city of Philadelphia, and they are not negotiable. They represent immediate steps that the city must take to communicate its responsiveness to the demands of Black Philadelphians for justice for our communities.
On the move.
On the move.
What's the call?
Freedom all.
What's the call?
Freedom all.
What's the call?
Freedom all.
Demand number 4. We recognize the prison as an extension of police violence and demand the release of our incarcerated community members. Immediate, permanent release of Mumia Abu-Jamal, Major Tillery, Arthur Chetwell Johnson, Russell Maroon Shoatz, Omar Askia, Joseph JoJo Bowen, and all Black political prisoners. The Philadelphia, quote-unquote, justice system that arrested and tried Mumia Abu-Jamal is the same racist and immoral system that dropped the bomb on 11 civilians, including 5 children of the Move family 35 years ago. The fact that Mumia's trial was built on false evidence is without question, and serves as proof of the history of Philadelphia police targeting those who speak out against state violence. In this period of COVID-19, we demand that Mumia, Major Chataway, Maroon, Omar, JoJo, and all black political prisoners be immediately released. They are all seniors, members of a vulnerable population whose incarceration by any measure does not serve our communities or justice. Number 5, immediate release of all vulnerable individuals in prison. Accelerate the release of the 1,800 individuals eligible under the reprieve order signed April 10, 2020, and expand this order so that all eligible individuals are released by the end of July 2020. Include in your reprieve all individuals who are medically vulnerable regardless of their offense. Secretary Wetzel estimated that there are approximately 12,000 people currently incarcerated that the CDC would be considered medically vulnerable. The order signed April 10th states, vulnerable inmates shall include inmates at risk based upon age, anyone with autoimmune disorders, who is pregnant, or who has serious chronic medical conditions like heart disease, diabetes, chronic respiratory disease, bone marrow, organ transplantation, severe obesity, kidney disease, liver disease, hepatitis, and cancer, or other medical condition that places them at higher risk for coronavirus as defined by the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention. All trans and disabled inmates are also vulnerable, and we demand that they be recognized as such and also released under the reprieve order.
The pigs in our hood. The pigs in my hood. The pigs in your hood. The pigs in your hood. So don't arrest me. So don't arrest me. So don't arrest me. So don't arrest me. All right, y'all, my name is Ann Smith. I'm from Philly Road Justice. I'm going to talk about the pigs that we need to start arresting. Demand 6, the swift firing of killer cops and community response. We demand an end to superficial policies that assign desk duty and administrative leave for officer-involved shootings. If a police officer murders someone, they should be immediately and permanently fired and referred to counseling. I don't know if counseling gonna save them, but maybe, yeah. The retirement funds of killer cops must be frozen during all parts of the legal process. If the officer is convicted, their pensions must be seized and transferred to the victims' families. Demand 7, abolish the Fraternal Order of Police and the Police Advisory Committee. Yep, that's McNesby, yep. The city government announced plans to create a civilian oversight commission. Government officials have not been transparent about how this commission will function or the amount of funding it will receive. We again demand that the PAC not simply be reformed, repackaged, and presented to the community as progressive change. The Police Advisory Commission must be abolished and replaced with a fully funded community control board provided from the budget of the Philadelphia Police. The board must have the exclusive power to hire and fire police officers. Board members must be elected through a transparent process that is created by individuals whose leadership is accepted by the community they will be representing. The members of this board cannot be law enforcement or elected officials. The board must also comprise community members most directly impacted by the system of policing. Their ultimate charge must be to remove all cops from our neighborhoods within 5 years, not just the white ones. We also demand that the Fraternal Order of Police be dissolved immediately and police bargaining shifted into the municipal union of the city of Philadelphia until police are disbanded. The Fraternal Order of Police, its president and agenda is more committed to defending police violence, terror, and mass incarceration than it is in protecting and serving Black Philadelphians. Through intimidation, bullying, and political intrigue, it has set itself up as an unaccountable power block and political lobby that is a threat to our city's democracy.
Yes, yes. The Black community has the right to live safely without the threat of violence. Demand number 8, end the military occupation of the Black community. We demand the complete demilitarization of the Philadelphia police and the police occupation of Black communities. The Black community is consistently targeted by SWAT teams armed with military-grade equipment. We demand the city end any participation in the U.S. Department of Defense's 1033 program and return any equipment acquired through it and refuse any participation in Operation Relentless Pursuit, the Justice Department's newest war on crime tactic. A local police force should not have the ability to engage with community members like enemy combatants. Number 9, protection for Black Philadelphia. We acknowledge the severity of gun violence in our communities. Dismantling the structural violence of poverty and not applying discriminatory gun laws is the only way to create safe communities. Anti-Black violence, which is emboldened in the current white supremacist climate, is an ever-increasing threat to Black communities. Pockets of white vigilantes are currently roaming the city with guns, axes, and other deadly weapons in the wake of the rebellion. These white terrorist groups pose as significant risks to the Black community. We assert the Black Philadelphians have the ability to defend ourselves. We will no longer be criminalized for enjoying the Second Amendment rights that are permitted to all of other Pennsylvanians. We demand that no current or future concealed carry violations are registered as a felony in Philadelphia.
Y'all, we almost there. Fist up! 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 Demand number 10. In all carceral systems. The destructive effect of mass incarceration on individuals, families, and communities extends beyond the prison walls. We demand an immediate end to the criminalization of race, poverty, and mental health, ability, and immigration status through the multiple carceral systems that target Black Philadelphians. We demand the dismissal of warrants, cash bail, and the end to probation and parole systems that target our community members for prison re-traumatization rather than provide support for individual and community restoration. We demand the decriminalization of sex work. It is time to end the stigmatization and traumatization of sex workers through arrest and incarceration. We demand an end to the separation of Black families through the forcible removal of our children by the Department of Human Services. Children must be returned to willing parents and caregivers without ransoming their return with bureaucracy. We demand the city of Philadelphia live up to its promise as a sanctuary city, immediately disband all immigration and customs enforcement activities. We must reunite individuals and families that have been separated as a result of ICE detainments. We also demand that mental illness be decriminalized and those with such disabilities be identified and provided the mental health care they require rather than being assaulted by police and incarcerated. Number 11, disband all private police departments. Black Philadelphians are policed in virtually every area of our lives. Due to jurisdiction overlaps, a Philadelphia may be policed by PHA police, transit police, university police departments, and the city police simultaneously. We demand that the Philadelphia Police Department immediately end all memorandums of understanding with private police, which allows J-band frequency. We further demand that legislation be passed that mandates all public and private institutions, including educational institutions and transit and housing authorities, disband their police forces in the interest of public safety.
Black Lives Matter. All Black Lives Matter. Black trans matter. Trans lives matter. All Black lives matter. For all Black lives to matter, racist systems of oppression from slavery to the present must be addressed through economic justice. Demand 12, fund communities and not cops. We demand an immediate decrease in the Philadelphia Police Department's budget over 5 years until the PPD is fully defunded. Yeah, fully defunded. We demand these resources be diverted from policing to long-standing community-led organizations working to support returning citizens and to build strategies that enable Black people to address our own conflicts and struggles in a manner that centers transformative justice and eliminates punitive systems of behavior change. We demand the redistribution of these funds be decided by those who are directly impacted by the criminal legal system, including returning citizens, sex workers, our members of the disabled community, our LGBTQIA+ communities, and members of undocumented communities. And demand 13, economic justice now. Economic justice now. We demand reparative economic justice for the aforementioned harms to Black communities. The government must repair the damage it has done. Current policies are designed to perpetuate racial and economic justice against Black communities. We demand a participatory approach to public budgets that is under community control to ensure that resources are equitably distributed and meet the needs of our communities, which have been purposefully and systematically under-resourced. This, reparations that is a critical step toward the realization of true justice for our communities. So I'm going to pass it back to Yane to tell you all what you can expect from us.
Thank you, my beloved sister. Thank you. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Aunt. So one thing I just want to hold up before we get into what's next, is that we actually have right here with us directly impacted individuals when we talk about the importance of freeing all political prisoners. We have standing here along with us 2 individuals whose families and whose individual selves have been directly damaged, stolen from, and traumatized because their parents were taken and stolen because they fought and stood for that which is right for all people, because they spoke out against the injustices that our community has been suffering since the beginning of this colonial project. Russell Shoatz is a political prisoner who needs to be released, and we demand his release now. His son, Russ Jr., is here, and we love you, and we are here to fight with you, and we appreciate you, and we acknowledge your sacrifice. We acknowledge the sacrifice that was put upon you, and we will not fight until we win. I'm sorry, we will not stop until we win. Also, for over 40 years, the Move 9 was improperly and illegally based on true law, not based on these illegal laws of this land, but based on true law, and even actually based on the illegal laws of this land. Imprisoned for over 40 years, the Move 9. Mike Jr. and Debbie Africa, Mike Africa Sr. and Debbie Africa, their son, Mike Africa Jr., was born in the prison after the illegal siege and the resulting police murdering of one of their own, and then blaming it on his family, our family. And his mother, while pregnant, was incarcerated incarcerated, and he had to wait 40 years to be able to see his parents outside of the prison. We hold you and your family. We love you, and we will continue to fight, and he continues to fight. We all continue to fight. His family has been released. Those who did not die in prison, they have been released, but the fight is not over. And he still stands here and fights with us. We stand and we fight together. What's the call?
Freedom all!
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 Free Mumia Abu-Jamal.
Free Mumia Abu-Jamal!
Free Maroon Shoatz.
Free Maroon Shoatz!
So we have 13 demands. You have heard those 13 demands. What's most important to us is that we engage our community in discussing these demands and what we will do as we move forward as these demands are met. It is also important to us that we continue to apply pressure consistently on this illegal, illegitimate system until our demands are met. We will meet both of these goals through continuous actions, starting with 13 days of action to go with our 13 demands. The first demand, or the first day of action, will be centered around the freeing of all our political prisoners. Where we will be is Malcolm X Park on Sunday. You can join us there, learn more about this issue, learn more how to get involved. We must fight until we win. We cannot do anything other than let our community know that if you stand up for justice and you fight, that your community will not stop until you have justice. And if you are kidnapped and taken into these carceral systems, we will fight for your release. And we will fight without ceasing for your release. We have a dope website that you can visit. You can visit the website to learn more, to read these demands for yourself, to learn more about what's coming, to also show your support. You'll be able to sign your name or to sign up your organization to demonstrate your support and that you are aligned with these demands. You will also be able to find communication opportunities, ways to communicate with us on the website. If you have questions, particularly people from our Black community, if you have questions as it relates to these demands, as it relates to getting involved, we want to hear from you. We want to talk with you. We want to engage with you. We are here because we love our community. That's why we are here. We want to be clear. We work all day and all night, and we are working for the liberation of all our people. And the truth is that when you liberate all Black people, you liberate all people. So even though we stand here and we are centering our Blackness and our Black selves and our Black family, we are fighting for every person on this planet, not just in the city of Philadelphia, not just in the state of Pennsylvania, not just in the United States, not just in North America. We are fighting for all people, all poor, all working class people, all but those very few billionaires that have been locking up the resources and enslaving the people, preventing their access to all of the resources that the planet provides for free. We are not going to have it anymore. We are starting with the obvious issue of police and state violence, understanding that police violence is one form of state violence and that the carceral systems are an extension of that one form of state violence. But poverty violence? Is it not violent when a child goes to bed hungry at night? Is that not violence? Is it not violence when you dig up resources for excessive, extreme needs and desires that people do not actually need? That's violence against our planet. When we have all these hundreds and actually thousands of species that are being killed as a result of this capitalistic, consumeristic approach to living, that is also violence. So we fight as it relates to this police violence. That is the foundation upon the fight for all full liberation, where everyone is free and all life is honored. We are prepared if anybody has any questions. We're prepared to take a couple of questions from a few people. And so let us know if you have any questions. You can raise your hand if you have any questions. Okay.
You mentioned one action. Are there others planned yet?
There are others planned yet. We will inform the public about those actions as we are prepared, as we are ready to. We do have an action prepared for July 4th. Should we say what it is? In support of Mumia Abu-Jamal. And a tribute on August 8th to Delbert Africa, who was mentioned earlier, one of our brothers who was incarcerated for over 40 years for something that he did not do, and still confused as to how 9 people could even possibly put one bullet in one person. But we will be having an event for Delbert Africa on the 8th of August. The website is blackphillyradicalcollective.com. So what you see here on these signs, on these banners, rather, .com. We also have a Facebook page. You can access that through the website. It's We Want Philly for Black Philly. We want freedom for Black Philly. Philly demands freedom. Any other questions? Yes.
The commissioner and the mayor apologized for what happened on 676, but they did not address the violence that people experienced in West Philly for tear gas. Can y'all talk about that? Because I don't think the mainstream media has been highlighting what individuals have experienced in West Philadelphia.
So myself and someone else here was on 52nd Street when that occupation occurred. And I do want to say that, city council members came in and tried to mediate whatever, we heard from Mayor Kinney. People's main idea of the state violence that occurs is happening in like the center city part of every city. But these SWAT teams, the National Guard, they in the hood, and they're not getting any coverage. When the SWAT team invaded 52nd and Arch, which was what they did, they invaded it because nobody asked them to be there, the National Guard and the SWAT team, it was about 15 people outside. Am I lying, y'all? No. It's about 15? It's about 15 of us, I swear. And it would have to be maybe 100, 200, 300 cops out there. 3 lines of police, 3 lines of SWAT, army tank in the back, folks who got shot with rubber bullets, tear gas, arrested. So what's happening, what we see from city council in the city is that they have a particular agenda that they want to address, right? Look at these protesters in Center City, right? And then they can also utilize that to say, look at what because, we got any random, like, white transients from anywhere making any demands, right? So they're thinking, like, oh, they want conversations with the police. They want body cameras. They want whatever. But the demands of people in the hood, they already telling you what they wanted. The people on 52nd and Arch side, we want the police out the neighborhood. And that's what they said they wanted. But that's not being centered in the conversation. So it's clear that Mayor Kinney and City Council have a very clear understanding of what's going on. They are purposefully ignoring it. And all of the charges, I would just say I was one of the people that got arrested. That was another brother that night. I haven't seen him since. That was a random person that was walking by. He had nothing to do with the people standing outside or whatever. He was just walking by listening to music, rapping or something. And he got arrested. And they drove us from West Philly all the way up to the 22nd District, and they let us out at 3:30, 3:45 in the morning. Right? I don't know where his belongings was, but we essentially had to walk back to West Philly, which is a 2.5-hour walk. And this is the way that the police are operating in these neighborhoods. So, whenever you hear stories about the way that SWAT and the police and the National Guard are interacting with people in the city, think about how they're acting in the hood. It's going to be 10 times worse because they don't care about none of the people there. They don't care. And all of the stories, I'm glad that people got coverage. You know, we got lawyers and things of that nature for people in the city, but we really, really need to be mindful of the people that are struggling in these neighborhoods because they are being forgotten. SWAT and the National Guard particularly are occupying black communities. We already had the occupation of the community by police. And I'm using this language if anybody doesn't know, because if somebody goes to war, if the military goes to war, and the nation does not prescribe to the military in their country, what you would call it in any other terms is an occupation. This is a military occupation. So what you have in Black Philly and 52nd Street is an armed occupation of black community members. For anybody that's there was a sister that got tear gassed. There was a sister that got hit with a rubber bullet, bleeding from her forehead down to her feet. Somebody got hit with a rubber bullet, chest exploded. I mean, this is ridiculous, and this is stuff that's not going to hit the... And the thing is, Mayor Kenny knows this is happening, because they sit city council down there. The city council know, you know, police commissioner know, and they're ignoring it. So, yeah.
Can I speak on that a little bit?
Please.
How's everybody doing? My name's Kamal Shale. I'm also a member of Philly for Real Justice. I was also out there when Ant was kidnapped by the police because essentially it was a kidnapping. There was absolutely no reason to snatch him up. There was no reason to snatch up the other community member. And what Kenny is doing, what Outlaw is doing is more than just, they know. Not only do they know, but it's evident in how the police responded on 52nd Street versus how they responded anywhere else in the city that is racist. That's intentionally racist. When they were in West Philly, not only were they shooting, like what happened with us was the end of the day, all the way at the end of the day, all the way at like 9 o'clock at night, we get shot with rubber bullets and run out of the street by police with shields and batons, by a National Guard who showed up in full fatigues with rifles. But that doesn't talk about the beginning of the day. The beginning of the day, they were walking down, they were rolling down the street in their SWAT van, their armored vehicle, and were firing tear gas at random residents within West Philly, right? There's a whole bunch of talk about the protesters, the people marching on 76 and getting gas, but zero talk about how they just fired gas, tear gas, at random people walking down the street in West Philadelphia on 52nd Street. There's zero, there's one video of which they tried to show aggression from the people, but did not show how the police antagonized them, did not show how the police made fun of people being angry about cops being in their neighborhood, did not show how they hit people with rubber bullets, did not show how they fired tear gas at people, did not show how they went down Market Street as an army. When you say an occupying force, when you see 100 police with black uniforms on and helmets, and you see a giant black SWAT truck with a turret, there's a man on top of this moving back and forth and firing tear gas at people, firing rubber bullets at people, not just protesters. These weren't people that were outside at this time, early in the morning between 10 and 12, between 12 and 1. These weren't people who were coming out to say, hey, we're going to let you know by occupying this space and using our freedom of speech and our First Amendment rights. These were people, these were residents of the neighborhood. They didn't just roll down 52nd Street with the tear gas. They rolled down 53rd Street with the tear gas. They rolled down Arch with the tear gas. They rolled down Chestnut with the tear gas. So these are intentionally racist actions. When you compare that to, say, Kensington and Allegheny, right, K&A, I have not seen any footage of SWAT rolling through Kensington and Allegheny shooting tear gas at anybody. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen not nearly there were many uprisings that day, many different places throughout Philadelphia where things occurred. But what I did not see in any of these places where there were a lot of white faces. I didn't see tear gas. I didn't see rubber bullets. I didn't see SWAT tanks. I didn't see an army of people. So it's important to note that, right? Kenny's not being honest. He's not being honest. Outlaw is not being honest. That apology is not accepted. We do not accept that. We want to see actual action.
Yes, yes.
I just want to say that, you know, it's important also to recognize that how traumatizing this activity is to the individuals in our community. When they kidnapped Ant, I wasn't here, but I was worried and crying all day. Even though I know that he's cool, even though I know he's good, even though I know he's strong, and even though I know we got a lot of force around us and people who are taking care of him, just knowing also that they know who he is because he stands up and fights and there's no telling what they might do was traumatizing. When I heard about the sister who got shot in the eye with the rubber bullet and then she killed herself, and then we have to hear about these things and then we have to just keep working because we gotta free the people. So it needs to be understood also how hard this is, that we are driven by our love and our commitment to our people. But that same love and commitment is what makes this so traumatizing, what they're doing to us. And we will not stop fighting for each other because of that love. But it hurts our hearts. It hurts us too. Are there any more questions?
I just wanted to add, I have a quote here from Kenny, right? When I say he knows it's intentional, we all know how they felt about the 676 action and how they apologized for it. Kenny says the violence that happened on 52nd Street was justified and the people were violent looters. This is from Kenny, right? So it's not a misunderstanding. That apology is not for me. Right, that apology is for white faces that came down to protest. Yeah. It's not for the black and brown people of West Philadelphia or North Philadelphia who were attacked by the police.
Also, I want to just speak to what Megan mentioned earlier as it relates to the redistribution. Because one thing that people do not talk about is that when people went into those stores and they took things, first of all, they wouldn't be taking things if their needs were being met. But in addition to that, these people went into these locations and they took things and they actually distributed those things. They didn't take things and just hoard it for themselves. People took things out of those stores and they gave them to those children. And the children were happy that they finally had things that they weren't able to afford because they weren't able to make it up this bullshit capitalist, hierarchy. So it is actual redistribution, and that hoarding of wealth is not actually right. It's not appropriate. Are there any last questions? Because we're ready to wrap it up. So you can donate money through the organizations. You can donate money to any of the organizations that are listed on the website. We will establish a way to donate directly to the Black Philly Radical Collective. But at this moment, if you go to the website and you look at signatories, you go to the page that says signatories, it has there listed the original signatories to the development of these demands and the development of this collective. And each of those have, if you go to any of those websites, you'll find ways that you can donate. Any last questions? All right. Thank you all. What's the call? What's the call?